Hello, Ram Singh Roy. How are you doing today? Thank you for joining the live. I'm doing good. How are you doing? I'm in Colorado, Denver, Colorado. Thank you for joining. Hello, Akash Kumar. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for joining. Thank you all for joining. Good morning, Roman from Australia. Thank you for joining. I'm in Colorado. Thank you for joining. Hello, Rebecca. Thank you for joining. 7:15. Wow. Hi, man. Why not me? Thank you for joining. Hello, LK. Thank you for joining. Yes, 3:15 here p.m. Hello, hello. Thank you all for joining. Hope you all are having a wonderful day. Hello, German. I'm from Colombia. Nice to have you join the live. I'm in Denver, Colorado. Hello, hello. Hi, Foreman Boy. Hi. Hello, madam. Hello. Okay, I'm in Colorado. But I moved here where I'm from Tennessee originally, but I prefer to say I'm from Colorado now because we really like it here. We really like it in Colorado, way better than Tennessee. So far because the good Lord allowed. Yes, He allowed us to see another day, Roman. That's exactly right. Hello, Wellerton. Hello. Hi, Stevie Lee. Hello, Jonathan Neary. Hello, CVJ. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I don't want to be on here too long. Thank you. Thank you. Hi, Stevie Lee. Hello. How are you doing? Yes, you can, LK, if you want to. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining the live. I sure appreciate it. But I wanted to come on here and talk about how God, the Almighty God in heaven, saved me from going to hell. And, you know, we talk about heaven. You know, everybody want to go to heaven. Everybody say when you die, you're going to heaven. But, you know, we have to make sure that we are right with Jesus. You know, that's just not how it works. It's not that simple. You know, if we got a lot of things in our heart, if we don't have a relationship with Jesus, you know, it's so many things that we will be judged on Judgment Day. So let's make sure we get it right on this side. So when we die, when we leave this world, we will know, our loved ones will know. We will know, but our loved ones will know who we're leaving behind without a shadow of a doubt, where we'll rest eternally. It's so important, y'all. It's so important. And I'm coming on here today to share with you just a little tidbit of what I've had to go through. And God is still working on me. By no means do I think I'm better. By no means do I think you know, I've arrived. I'm still a work in progress. We all are. We all are. But I think the first step is admitting, you know, that we are all sinners. We're admitting that we're sinners saved by grace and mercy of Jesus. He died for us. We should be living for him. Please remember that. So I wanted to read Psalm, it's the 119th chapter, I believe. And I want to read the 76th and 77th verse. And it reads, "May your unfailing love be my comfort. According to your promise to your servant, let your compassion come to me that I may live, for your law is my delight." And again, that was Psalm 119th verse, and chapter, and the 76th and 77th verse. So I wanted to title this live "Out of Control," because that's what I was doing way before I met my late husband. A lot of you all don't know my husband passed away 2021, but even before then, you know, I was living a reckless life. Before I met him, I still say that, you know, even my children, my adult children say, "Mama, Daddy saved your life." I said, "Yeah." I said, Jesus used him to save me, because y'all, I was reckless. I was living I was a mess. I was a mess. But I was on my way to a burning hell. Hell is real, y'all. Hell is real. It ain't nothing, you know, no what is it? Red drawing on a color, you know, in a coloring book, a bunch of fire and all that. Yes, it's all of that. But, you know, we want to make it some make-believe stuff. Hell is real. It is real. And, you know, it's only two places you can go, heaven or hell. So we want to go to heaven. That's what we want to go. But so anyway, that's where I was on my way. That's where I was on my way to. And I was living in a world of sin. I'm reading my notes. That's why I'm looking down. And, you know, some things I knew better of, and some things I just didn't care, y'all. I just did not care. And to be honest, I'm not trying to put blame on my parents or anything like that. But, you know, a lot of times people, you know, your parents or whoever's supposed to be over you, they can't teach what they don't know. And, you know, nobody sat me down and told me having sex before marriage was wrong. I knew it was wrong. I heard it in church. But everybody around me was doing it. So I'm like, well, it can't be too wrong, because I guess we all going to hell because everybody doing it. You know, that's how my brain was, you know, because that's how the world, you know, we're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. You know, that's Bible. But again, you know, when you got people around you that are parading what they're doing wrong, you know, and, you know, it's in your face. You see it. You've grown up around it. So you're like, well, it can't be too wrong. They doing it, and they've been living on earth way longer than me. So just to give you a little background, that's what I've always dealt with. And not making an excuse, not a cop-out, it's the truth. But again, I just want to share with you, some years ago, you know, I slept around with a few guys, had relationships with them. And I'm coming on here being honest, y'all. We got to come clean. You know, we got to quit hiding and slipping and sliding, because God see everything. Please know that. You can't go in a dark enough room. He see everything you're doing. And I'm not coming on here trying to be judgy or trying to think I'm better than nobody, because I've been there. And that's why I want to help you. Nobody helped me. Nobody helped me but Jesus. But you do not want his wrath on you. You don't want that. And he had to wake me up through death, through my husband passing away. And that's why I'm here today in Colorado talking to you, because he woke me up. You know, I felt like I've been walking around like a crazy person all these years. I'm 51 years old, and I'm just now coming into the light and knowing what's right and what's wrong. You know why? Because I chose to do what I wanted to do. And even back in the day, when I was doing all my little slipping and sliding and having fun, and I never did drugs, never did alcohol. I tried to drink, I tried to smoke, I burnt my fingers. I was trying to be cool and do what the other girls were doing in school. I never could catch on to none of the little habits, you know, that everybody around me was doing, you know. And I felt like an oddball most of the time. And then the drinking, you know, I've always been around that, but I tried to do that, and it made me sleepy. I just couldn't. It was like everything I was trying to do, what everybody else was doing, they were excelling in it, and I was failing at it, you know, because it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. That wasn't the plan that God had for my life. But the other stuff, I wasn't doing that stuff, but I was doing other stuff. I was doing other bad stuff, you know, having sex before marriage, you know, laying up with guys, shacking up with guys who I wanted to be married to, and they had no plans on that. That ain't what they wanted, you know. But that's a whole nother video. But so yeah, I was doing stuff that was not pleasing to God, but he still kept me. He still kept me, y'all. He protected me. He protected me from evil people who I thought was for me. You know, these guys, I'm confiding in them. You know, I'm telling them my deepest, darkest moments, and you know, I'm thinking, you know, they're really there for me. Well, come to find out, some of them was cheating on me. Some of them was, you know, it was just a lot of stuff, y'all. It was just a lot of stuff. But this was way before, of course, I met my husband, my late husband. But what I'm saying is that I was looking for love in all the wrong places. That's my whole point of this video. I was out of control. You know, I was doing what I wanted to do, doing what I thought felt good, felt right, but it wasn't. It was all wrong. It was all wrong. And again, nobody was telling me, you know, I got older people around me. I got aunts, I got uncles. You know, I come from a really, really big family on my mom's side. And, you know, I mean, it's a big family. And, you know, I'm looking around at what they doing, and I'm like, well, they seem like it can't be too, you know, like I said, it can't be too wrong. They doing it. They look like they living okay. But inside, a lot of stuff that look good on the outside is not. It's not what it appeared to be. And that's what I was going by, what I saw on the outside. But see, that's not what's going to get us into heaven. Just because we can dress up, we can look real good on the outside. But y'all, I was dying spiritually. I was dead spiritually. I'm going to say that I wasn't dying. I was dead on the inside, because I was looking for something in those guys those men, young men, that only Jesus could give me. Jesus is love. He gives everlasting love. You know, can't no sex, can't no drugs, can't no alcohol, can't none of that give you what Jesus can give you. You know, that's temporary. It's temporary. But what Jesus gives you is going to be permanent. You're going to always have it, you know. And I feel like that's what the devil was trying to, you know, in those bad relationships, in those, you know, those guys that were never meant for me to meet, you know, but that's just what I like, you know. They were nice looking, they were good looking, whatever. And so I was attracted to that. But see, the enemy knows, the devil knows what we like. And so he said, well, here go this guy, you know. And then I was drawn to the guy, relationship, wasted time, wasted years, you know. And it was just bad all the way around. But again, what I was looking for them to provide to me, to give to me, they could never give it to me, because they didn't have it themselves. You know, you can't give something you don't have. You know, and here I am, you know, well, you know, this guy is handsome, you know, he's tall, he's this, that, he's everything that I could ever want. I thought I wanted, but that was not who God had for me. That was not my husband. That was not, I was gonna meet him later. But we want what we want, y'all. And that's what I mean about living out of control. You're out of control when you are not allowing God to take control of your life. And that's where I'm at now. Jesus finally has my attention. 51 years old. And I'm like, what was I doing all that time? Nothing. Doing nothingness. Wasting time. Wasting precious time. And what I mean by I was on my way to hell, the devil tried his best to kill me so many times, y'all. I've been in so many car wrecks and accidents and stuff. And I'm like, why, people just coming out of nowhere, hitting me, rear-ending me. Or, I remember I had a gallbladder removal in 1999. And I was on my way home. Just had left my dad's place of employment, telling him that was my first day back at work. And a man hit me. He was on his cell phone. He rear-ended my car, put me off work for a whole 2 or 3 months. And I'm like, what? Just first day back at work, And that could have really been bad, but it wasn't. But I mean, because it caused me, by him hitting me, I hit another car. It was just that effect or whatever. Then I was on the highway one time. A lady, her car, whatever you call it, jumped the little ramp thing, and she caused me to hit somebody. I mean, it's just been so much stuff, y'all. So much where the enemy has tried to take me out, And then I've shared briefly about being in a bad relationship with this one gentleman, this one guy. He tried to take my life, but the guy didn't allow it to happen, because I had to be here in Colorado in 2025. I'm still here. And it's all because of Jesus. With his hand, I have allowed him to take control of my life. I'm no longer living out of control. I'm no longer living, on what I want to do. I'm living for him now. And it makes a big difference, y'all. It makes a huge difference. Please hear me. Please know this. This is real, y'all. We can't just keep living and doing what we want to do. And just because it feel good, or it's we like what we do, and this what's wrong with enjoying my life? There's nothing wrong with enjoying your life. But we got to be living for Jesus. If you're not living for him, who you living for? We can't be pleasing, trying to please everybody else. And I lived in that state for so long. I lived in that way for so long, wanting to please so many people. But I didn't care about what the Lord wanted me to do. Jesus wanted me to do. But I was so concerned with what other people wanted me to do. And y'all, it took me so long to realize, Jesus revealed this to me, that those people that said they loved me, those people that said they had my back, those people that said that they, call me whenever you need something or whatever, none of that was true. None of it. But who keeps his promises? Jesus. Jesus. I'm going to say his name again. Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He's the one that's going to always be there for you. He's the one. He's going to never leave you nor forsake you. And, your family, your friends, your besties, I don't care who it is. They can say all they want to say. But Jesus, in the end, Jesus is going to be there for you. He's going to always be there for you. But I thank him, y'all, with everything I have, because I should be dead. I should be, I could have gotten beat up real bad. I made a lot of bad decisions. A lot of bad decisions. Back in my I call it my heyday. Back in the day when, I don't know what I was doing, to be honest. It was nothing but God's grace and his mercy that kept the reason I'm still alive. Because I was around a lot of evil people, and I couldn't see it because I didn't care. I didn't care. But I really believe this, y'all, with everything I have. God takes care of foolish people. He takes care of us. When you are ignorant, when you don't, means you don't know, that's when I really believe that's when he really has his hand on your life, because he's protecting you from the hand of the enemy. And a lot of times I knew what was going on, but like I said, I just, the enemy had me so blinded spiritually, and I just, I didn't care. I just really didn't care. But like I said, we can't be going around depending on people to help us. A lot of these people, and I mean this in the nicest way, but a lot of these people, they can't even help themselves. They don't know how to help themselves. And I'm learning that people that are so quick to give you advice about your life, they need advice on their life. And it ain't even about advice, but it's about all of us seeking the Lord, And that was the whole problem. That's where I was not. I was not in that place. Went to church every now and then, but I wasn't getting anything from it. I just dressed nice. I looked nice on the outside, but I was so spiritually dead. So spiritually dead. And I had no idea. No idea. I'm just, like I said, I was out of control. I was out of control. But when I allowed the Lord to take control, when he called my late husband home in 2021, October of that year, he got my attention. He got my attention loud and clear. And I've been ever since then. Because I had been in church, and everything. And every time the church doors open, I was there, clapping my hands. I looked good. I looked pretty, whatever. But I was not. Put that Bible down. I carried that Bible in church, carried it right back out to church. And that Bible wouldn't get open again until that next Sunday. But now, not bragging, all glory, honor, praise to God. But now, I bet I read my Bible every day now. I bet I fast. I bet I pray. I bet I'm seeking the Lord now. Because he all that I have and he's all that I need. We out here in a whole nother state. And I love it here. I love it here. I wouldn't want anything else. Yes, I miss my late husband. We were married a long time. Yes, I miss him. Yes, me and my children miss him. But he is in a better place than we are. He's in heaven. So that's where I wanna be. And I pray that's where you want to be as well. But we have to come to the realization that our life is not our own. And it's time out for us doing what we want to do. Let's get on God's program. And I'm talking about the Almighty God in heaven. Let's get on his program. Let's do what he has called us to do. You're not just here just taking up space and air. You're here for a purpose. You're still living for a purpose. Just think, and you don't have to think long, but just think all the times that you have been maybe in an accident, a car accident, or something has happened, in your life, and the Lord spared you. He spared you. You're still here, So, and you're here for, he has a purpose for your life. You're not just here just to be here, let's stop saying, complaining. Let's be thankful. When you get up in the morning, say, thank you, Jesus, for another day. I've made that a habit now. Because when my late husband was living, I'd get up complaining. I'd be talking about bills and be talking about everything. But the Lord said, will you just say thank you? That's what he told me. Will you just tell me thank you? Because he's allowing us to see another day. And, it's a lot of people in the graveyard, that did not get to live, the life that they probably would have wanted to live, And we always say, well, it was their time. Yes, that's true. The Lord knows. Yeah. But some of those were, I'm not being mean, but some of those deaths were, could have been just a bad decision or in the wrong place or at the wrong time. That's happened in my family. Life was cut short because of a decision, So, but we concentrating on the living. We above ground. We above ground. So that means he still got work for you and for me to do. And if it's love on people, encourage somebody, help somebody, whatever you can do. But most of all, make sure that you got a relationship with Jesus. It's great. It's wonderful to go to church. It's wonderful. But y'all, church got a whole different meaning to me now, because I said, finally, I have a relationship with Jesus, because I didn't have it before. I'm too concerned with saying that I go to a certain church, or, trying to look the part. but just tore up on the inside. You know, had a lot of unforgiveness in my heart. I don't have it anymore, but I did. You know, and the Lord said, I just got to clean you up. We got to allow him to clean us up. You know, you don't have to live out of control. God will take control. When you surrender to him, surrender everything to him. Your worries, whatever's bothering you, whatever, just whatever it is, you know, that you're dealing with, you know, depression, whatever it is, he'll help you. Alcoholism, drug, whatever. He will help you. And like I said, I never did drugs or alcohol, but I was doing other stuff. So it was still the same. It was still the same, you know. And I want to share this. I mentioned this to my late husband because I couldn't understand. Me and him would have really deep talks and stuff. And I asked him, I said, why is it that people struggle so hard with drugs? I said, you just stop doing it. You know, you know, what is that? I don't understand the struggle. And you know what he told me? And I thank him for telling me this, because I was so ignorant to even say that. And this was when, you know, years ago. But I was, you know, because I just couldn't understand that, because, you know, like I said, I was selfish. I was very selfish. I was very selfish and self-centered. And I, you know, just because I never had to deal with that, you know, I couldn't understand why what was the stronghold on them. And then, but the guy reminded me, I was no better, because I was struggling with sex. When I was out there, before I met him, my late husband, I was sleeping around. So that's a struggle too, you know. So see what I'm saying? Is no sin is better than the other. That's my point there, you know. But I was ignorant and foolish to even make that statement, you know, because it's people that struggle. We all got stuff we deal with, all of us. Nobody's on the pedestal and nobody's on the down here, you know. Nobody's up here and down there. No, we all got stuff we dealing with. And you know, I think when the first step, the big step, is admitting it. You know, if you're dealing with pornography, if you're dealing with sex, if you having addicted to sex, drugs, alcohol, stealing, lying, you know, whatever it is, ask God to help you with that. Food addiction, I don't know, you know, whatever it is, you know, nothing's too small and nothing's too big for Jesus. He will help you. He's helping me. He's helping me. You know, when we, after my late husband passed away, and y'all, I don't mind sharing stuff, because I ain't got nothing to hide no more. I don't care what you think about me. I don't care. Jesus know everything. And he know everything. You know, the stuff we want to hide, the stuff we don't want to hide. He know everything. So I don't care if you know, because he already know. And he's already healed me. But I was struggling, and you may think it's silly, but I was struggling with eating ice. I think do y'all think that's silly? I would love eating ice. And it's not good for your teeth. It ain't none of that. But it was a way of coping. It was a way of coping. And I started doing it before he passed away. I went and bought a blender, and that was an addiction. I looked it up and I was like, where did that even come from? And just stupid, just silly stuff I was doing. But you know, and see what I was saying about the drugs, that was like a drug to me. Because I get up early in the morning, go blend me some ice, eat ice out the cup, eating it like it's some food, or, you know, some soup or ice cream or something. And, you know, and I didn't even think nothing was, and even he said, why are you doing that? But I was struggling. And it was a masking. You know. So that's like drugs too. You know, if you think about it, it ain't as extreme, but it's something that I was dealing with. And then I would do that, stop doing that, and I get on Cokes and Pepsis, you know. But the Lord has delivered me from both of them. I hadn't did that since January of this year. He's delivered me from that. And I thank him for that. But he revealed that to me. A lot of stuff that we do, you know, we do out of not only habit, but we do because we're dealing with other stuff. It's a masking, you know. It's something that's beneath that, you know. And with that ice, with the Cokes, that was comfort for me, you know. I'm just going to be honest. It was comfort for me. I was still dealing with his death. I was still dealing with a lot of other stuff. Betrayal, you know, stuff that people have done to me over the years. Molestation, all of that. You know, it's a masking. It feels good to do that. You know, ooh, let me give me some ice. You know, I go to a restaurant, Chick-fil-A or wherever, and let me give me, and I can't wait to drink the liquid, you know, the juice or whatever, lemonade, tea, whatever. So I get to the ice. You know, that's comfort for me. And like I said, you know, you may think that's silly, but it wasn't silly to me because it was comforting to me. You know, it helped me get through, you know, and because I never really, you know, never really ate a lot of food, you know, or I never got into that. But it was a time I was eating a lot of desserts. And like I said, you know, when we find ourselves doing too much of something, we're out of control. You know, we need to bring it back in. Bring it back in. Because see, the devil wants us, that's what he wants you to, he wants you to go down that path where you just, because you know, you start the eating ice and drinking Cokes and Pepsis all the time, and it's just out of control. That goes into other stuff. It goes into other stuff. And it opened doors to other stuff. And you say, well, you know, I'm not doing, you know, what's wrong with that? Because I was getting offended. I was getting defensive. My daughters were noticing it. And we first moved here, and they said, Mama, why you in there blending up ice? And I get mad. You know, I'd be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Just ice. It's just frozen water. You know, I'm getting mad. I'm getting defensive. You know, but see, that's the problem. It's an issue. Why am I even getting upset? Not mad at them, but I'm trying to defend what I'm doing, and you know, so I'm just, I just like to be real on my channel. I don't have time to come on here faking. I don't have. Why? You know, tell me why. You know, let's be real. Let's be honest, and let's tell the truth about stuff. You know, I was listening to someone. I think it was just the other day, and they were saying how what you've gone through and what you're dealing with, it can help somebody else, and that's what God. I know that's one of the reasons he wants me to be on these lives, and he wants me to be on YouTube, so I can help somebody from what he's helped and rescued me from. And I don't mind. You know, it ain't about me getting on here telling my business. Like I said, he knows. I don't care if you know. You know, we all got stuff, and if you be honest with yourself, you got stuff too. And we got to start being honest and being more upfront with Jesus. He already know. He's omnipotent. He already know everything. He know your beginning, and he know your end. So you're not hiding nothing from him. You know, don't ever think that. And I'm sure you're aware that you are not. But at the same time, you know, be honest. You know, be able to be upfront about what you've done. Ask him to forgive you for things that you've done. You know, he knows our thoughts. He knows everything. And that's why I say, you know, he know everything. He been with me when I was doing all that mess. So I don't care if y'all know. But I want to help somebody. You know, it's a lot of chains that are holding people down from being the best that they could ever be in Jesus because of shame. The enemy, that's what the enemy, he was inflicting upon me. You know, there was a time when I was pretty strong on Facebook, before my late husband passed away. I was on Facebook all the time. I would have never got on there and said none of the stuff that I was dealing with. You know why? Because I wanted to present myself a certain way. And I'm no longer on Facebook. I've been off of it for a while. But what I'm saying, it was more of a showcase for me when I was on there. You know, I wanted to show everybody, you know, look at my beautiful life. You know, I got these 4 beautiful children. I got a good husband. I got the good job. I got the car. I got the house. But I never, that was what was on the outside. You know, I didn't want to let nobody know what I was dealing with spiritually. How I couldn't sleep at night. How I struggled with my daddy not being in my life. You know, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Out of control. But I wanted them to see the good parts, you know. I wanted them to see the good stuff, you know. And then, you you tell me what you think, because I got a good life here. But click off of the Facebook, and then I got to deal with real life. So, you know, God is telling me in this season to be honest, to be open, to be transparent, You know, and I urge you all to do the same. You know, I told my children stuff that I used to do because I don't want them thinking their mama was no saint. I don't want them thinking their mama was no perfect woman, you know. Oh, she did everything right. I said, no, please don't think that. But I want them to be better, of course. I want my daughters to be better than what I ever was. But again, the first step is being honest. Be honest, tell the truth. Quit hiding behind stuff. You know, we all have done stuff we're not proud of. We all have, y'all. We be honest. We all have done stuff that we're not so pleased about. But I want to share this and I'm gonna get off of here. I went to a church back in Tennessee, and the minister said, he had said, because you know everybody come to church with the car. Well, back in the South, you know, I don't know where y'all are at, but in the South, you know, on Sunday, your cars are all shined up. You know, everybody looking good. The women hair, their hair is done. The men got their fresh haircuts. You know, everybody just looking so good on the outside. But he was saying, what if when you come into the church, into God's house, what if everything you did that previous week was on the screen for everybody to see? Excuse me. And I was like, wow, you know, and a lot of people laughed. You know, some people kind of dropped their head, you know, because I was sort of looking around. But I was like, that's something to think about. You know, that had me in deep thought, because at the time I was not living my best life. I'm gonna be honest. And I was married, but I'm not saying I was doing anything outside of my marriage. I'm talking about into, you know, what I was like, I had an unforgiveness in my heart. I didn't like certain people, you know, that's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that was not biblically correct or right. And so when he said that, it was just silent in the church, you know. Like I said, a few people laughed, a few people dropped their heads, you know, but I was like, that's something to really, really, really think about. You know, you thinking, and that go for anywhere, not only God's house, but that's anywhere. But you think, you know, you walking in a place so high and mighty, and you look so good on the outside, but then everything flashes up, all the stuff you did, you know, all your secret thoughts, all your, you know, and that's what God, you know, that's what God sees. That's what he knows about us, all the stuff we're trying to hide from other people. So I just wanted to hop on here, and I pray that you always hear Jesus speaking through me and not just me. I don't come on here for no show, form, or fashion. I come on here in the mighty name of Jesus to help somebody. You know, that's all I'm coming in the name of Jesus, his mighty name. So I thank you all for joining this live. Thank you all for your commenting. Thank you. I thank you so much, and I thank you all. Hello, thank you, Jesse. I haven't seen all the comments, but thank you all so much for joining the live, and I appreciate you all. Okay, have a beautiful, blessed Sunday in the mighty name of Jesus, and Jesus loves. I love you, but remember, Jesus loves you so much more. Bye bye.